right? Because they're using, you know, psychological techniques, yeah, to get people to part with their money, yeah, and buy stuff that they don't need, and not only don't need, that is bad for them.
That's
That
right.
seems to me, from a like ethical point of view, seems to me to be a lot more serious than walking out with one item. I don't know.
Although they would say not, because it's within the law. The game they've set up, they're playing within the
Yeah, but
confines.
they made up. This is what I
Yes.
find. They made up the law.
That's
and
right.
The law doesn't seem to correspond with basic, what I would call, maybe it's just my point of view, basic ethics.
Well, the whole thing of capitalism that's another issue. If we look at our capitalism, it is anti-human anyway. If you think of everybody as a family, it's your family. All the people on the earth are all family members. They've managed to get us to a situation where we don't see that anymore. And we actually now see people as punters.
Right.
And that's what the shopkeeper sees. He sees punters coming in the door, not family members. If you look
Right.
at your mum and your sister, you wouldn't sell her anything.
Right.
If she wanted a shirt or she wanted something that was yours, you'd give it to her.
Right.
That's it. We share. That's what we're meant to do. So it's antithetical to that. It's an anathema to the system to give anything away freely. In a capitalist system, I mean. It's an anathema. It would destroy it. So it's understandable. They can't do anything other than that. It's a form of, you could call it sociopath.
Right.
It's a sociopathic situation we're in.
Right.
Where the system doesn't care about humans.
Right.
It cares about profit. Well, that's been exposed in a lot of the videos, corporation and etc. Blah blah blah.
Yes.
So we know that. So you can't expect anything else from a sociopath.
Right.
You can't expect any other behaviour. You can't expect compassionate and humane behaviour. It's never going to happen. So you forget that. See, that's a waste of energy in my mind. It's a waste. All you can do is know these things and try to extricate yourself individually, and then hope that others will look at your example and follow. That's all the Buddha advocated, Jesus advocated, anyone can advocate. You can't do anything more than that. What can you do? You can't force anyone to love you. You can't force a woman to love you. You can't. Doesn't matter what you say. If she doesn't like you, she remains...
Maybe if you get enough cash, no?
No, even the cash, it won't happen. Love will not be produced. Cash doesn't produce love. It just produces some kind of relationship, but not a loving one. Not a loving one. It's impossible. And that's what this system's all about, cash. They use cash as an incentive to get you to love. And it works in most cases. It is working. Not love, but what can they do? They've got to go to work, they've got to pay the bills, the fear of losing their house, fear of losing their children, fear of losing everything. Food, no food. They control the resources. See? The people have got to wake up to this and say, no, we're not going to do this anymore. I can't sell to another person. I can't sell anything to anyone. Got to remove the money from in between us. Then we can have a loving relationship. It can't exist with money in between. You can't have a loving relationship. It's impossible. It's impossible. Once there's coins or notes between us, there's no love. It's finished. It's either lucre or love, cash or money, as it says in the Bible there. You can't serve two masters. Love and money, no, it doesn't work. It's a spoiler of loving relationships, cash. So, and you have to address that, first of all, but you can't address it. Nobody would leave their job. If you say, look, to have a loving society, we've all got to leave our jobs. We've all got to refuse accepting money. We can't do it anymore. We have to have loving relationships based on simply just mutual affection, not cash. No one will, they can't. They listen, but then they walk on and they've got to go to work in the morning, 9 to 5, they've got to do it, got to carry on. This is the power of the system, see, you can't. You may be able to individually free yourself, but you for sure won't be able to bring anyone else with you. Because the thing you found, if you have found something, it's been, it's ingenious to find anything anyway, really, to an escape from this system. You'd have to be almost a genius to find something. Passive income is very difficult to achieve. I don't know anyone who's achieved it. I don't know anybody. I know hundreds, I've known thousands of people in my life. I've not known anybody who's achieved passive income, financial freedom. No.
But what about the super rich?
Yeah, they've done it. They've done it. I don't know any of them. I don't know anybody like that who's super rich. I don't know anybody. For that reason, they don't want to mix with anyone else other than their own kind, tribal.
Right.
See, that would work. If you could meet them and they were compassionate and they could feel your argument, they would support you. Then it'd be fine. They'd draw 1,000 people out of the system and we'd change the whole world that way, maybe. But they don't. They've been brainwashed as well. So they hold their position. They're defenders of the system. They like it that way. They make billions keeping this game going. Why would they want to destroy the system? They're super rich because they're defenders of the system, not because they're attackers or opposers of the system. They wouldn't be super rich. If they were to give all their money away and help change the system, they'd be out. They'd be killed probably. So they're happy to be defenders of the system. They're being paid by the system. So you can't reach out to those either. They are financially free, but they're of no use to anybody down on the ground level. They're no use to the grunts on the ground. They're on a different level, and they're not sympathetic to any struggles on the ground because they've not come from the ground. They're in a different atmosphere, so it's a different creature altogether. So the revolution has to come, as George Orwell said, he had faith in the proletariat, but I don't have faith in the proletariat, not at all. The enlightened members of the proletariat only, but not the proletariat in general, no chance for them. Blind sheep, never wake up, no chance. Only the few, always been the few, as it says in the Bible. Many are called, many are produced, many are, brought to the planet. Only few hear anything other than the mainstream voice, the party line. Only a few will hear different music. Right. And I don't know why that is. I don't know. I can't put my finger on why. Where do those few come from? What are they made of? Different stuff, maybe. Maybe different stuff.
Mickey, imagine if there really was, imagine if Disney just woke up one day and said, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to actually put the tender out for a new Mickey Mouse character.
That's right.
Mickey sort of...
Radical Mickey.
Mickey sort of goes to... Mickey goes to rehab and comes out really enlightened and humble, okay?
That's it.
Yeah? So imagine you are this new... they've chosen you, right? Mickey. I mean, you are actually the real Mickey. But, imagine if they chose you. What would you have to say to the children now that you've reformed yourself and stopped teaching them to fight and scream? Right. That's all the type of stuff you've been teaching them. Right. What would you tell them now, straight out?
Straight out now?
Yeah.
Don't eat cheese. Get off the dairy. I've realised the dairy was no good.
The dairy's not good.
You must get off the dairy. And that's coming from a mouse, telling you that. You must get off that dairy. It's a destroyer of skin, gives you psoriasis. It's no good at all. Mucus, blocks your tubes, clouds your thinking. It's the dairy. I reckon it's the dairy.
That's why they give it to them in school.
Yeah, that's why they feed it to you in school. And I'm totally out now. I've done it. I've gone through my process, 12-step process, and I would say, chuck that dairy. Chuck that cheese. That's my message.
Great. Thank you very much, Mickey. On to the subject of terrorism. We were talking about terrorism, Mickey. And I know, as an ex-terrorist yourself, pretty much, weren't you, really? You've got to admit.
That's right.
Yeah? As an
pretty
ex-terrorist,
radical.
Can you tell us about, this crazy climate that we seem to have in this country as if, every third person is a terrorist? What's going on there?
Well, it's understandable. It's the only threat to the system. It's the only genuine threat to the system. There is no other threat. It's a fear of the people rising up, a fear of the people becoming individuals, thinking. That's it. That is the only fear the system has. So they perpetuate that party line just to keep us, negative, as you said, the NLP, reverse thinking. But there's really no terrorism. There's nothing really going on, or else this system would be finished. It would only take a couple of weeks to finish this system off in its present incarnation, if there was any genuine terrorists. But there isn't. It's rubbish. It's all part.
There must be the odd person here and there.
Maybe the odd, but the odd is not. The odd is not.
It's not a concerted effort, though.
The odd is not a threat to the system.
No,
it takes more than that. You take a troop of them to do it, and there's not even that. So even if you counted 10 dedicated terrorists, it would be enough to cause real havoc here. But there's not even that.
Right.
So there's no threat. They don't care, and at the same time, they don't care about the people. As we said, punters are being killed. Who cares? The super rich are not being killed. They're not on the streets. They don't shop. They shop online, or they get shoppers to go and shop for them and run around. So they're in their ivory towers protected. So they have no problem. There's no fear. But there is a fear of genuine terrorism rising. So that's all. So they keep pumping it out as if this is what we got to stop. This is what, just to keep people, this is not happening. So until such time, that's my view on terrorism. Very effective. It's the only fear of the system, but it's not in existence at the moment. Not here, for sure, not in the UK, because people have been pacified. So there's no real passion. The passion is gone. The righteous indignation is not there. The fire, there's no fire. Everybody's got credit cards, it's quite lenient, the police don't carry a weapon, it's lovely. What's the problem? When you ask people, they say, what's wrong with you? What are you making a noise about? We've got shops, we've got lovely shops. Go to another country and you see how they're living. No, we're grateful to be in the UK. Why should we blow it up? What do we want to destroy it for? We want the shops, we love the thing. We love Starbucks, we want Pret a Manger. It's very good, convenient. And it is. How can you blame them? It is. When you look around, it is true. You go to other countries, they're dying to be like us. They're desperate to be like us. They want what we've got.
So, I mean, how did that's because that's quite an interesting move back into the question that I was asking before, which is like, how do you, Mickey, maintain a balance of appreciation and loving this life and appreciation of of what we've got, let's say, relative to others, and at the same time balance that with awareness of actually the paedophilia, for example, the proper defiling of children, which if we were a bit more awake, surely we would be screaming and standing outside Tesco and saying, we are not going, by the millions, saying we are not going to carry on going to your store if you keep on messing around with our minds.
That's
and messing around with our children's minds and bodies.
That's right.
So how do you keep that balance? Do you keep that?
Yeah, I keep the balance by just seeing that there's good and bad in everything. That's what keeps me balanced. I wasn't of this opinion before. I thought that it was black and white and we're in the black and there's no white, there's no good, there's no nothing. It's all plunged in darkness. But then I began to see, no, there is benefit. There's benefit. There's good and bad in everything. So your job, or the enlightened person's job, is to pick out the good and just refuse the bad. Just leave it. You're not being forced in this country to accept the bad. It's just offered to you. As a lady said this morning to you on the phone, you let me listen in, she said the same thing. You've got your volition, but it all comes from being an individual. That's my point that I would drive home, is that people must wake up to themselves. They must not be led by someone else to believe that this is how it goes. Is no question, but that takes effort. So really it's laziness in a way. It could be laziness, part of the problem. The people who wake up are driven to wake up. They're going to wake up no matter what they're plunged in. They could be in a pit or a mud. It doesn't matter where they are, in an asylum. They'll find their way to the light, like a plant does. A weed finds its way. It doesn't matter. You can put concrete layers 10 foot thick on top of it. It will find slowly its way to the sunlight. It will not be plunged down and kept down. It will always find its way. So maybe the enlightened few are the weeds. In my mind, I see it as a garden and they are the weeds. They're not the cultivated flowers. They are weeds that can never be destroyed. So that's what keeps me back. I know there'll always be weeds in the garden. They can make the garden as pleasant as they want and weed it and put their own cultivated plants in, their own hybrid plants, whatever they want. But there'll always be the common weeds that will always grow up and destroy the garden or spoil the garden, the artificial garden, don't forget. So it's not really spoiling anything. It's just being itself. It's the natural plant. That's it. What can you do? As long as you are one of those, what's the problem? I've got no problem on the earth here. They can throw anything at you, weed killer, whatever, you still grow. It's no problem. That's my nature. See? And I don't know why I've been made this way, and others have been made that way who have fought in the past. I don't know how they come about. Maybe it is as the Bible says. They're just by the grace of God. They are God's children, closer to the source, maybe. So therefore it's more natural for them to resist something that is artificial. Whereas those who are far from the source, they've still got this